I always thought the phrase, money changes people, was just something poor people said to feel better about themselves. But then my wife got a taste of real wealth, looked me dead in the eye, and texted me 4 words that destroyed our 7-year marriage. I'm better than you. She didn't just leave me, she tried to erase me. But she forgot one tiny detail. I was the one who built the foundation she was standing on, and when you pull the bottom brick, the whole tower comes crashing down. To understand how my life completely blew up, you need to understand who Chloe and I used to be. We met in college. I was an introverted guy majoring in software engineering, and Chloe was a vibrant, fiercely ambitious marketing major. We were opposites, but we fit perfectly. When we got married right after graduation, we had absolutely nothing. Our first apartment in Chicago was a tiny 500-square-foot studio that smelled permanently of the neighbor's burnt toast. The radiator clanked all night like a broken robot, and our couch was a sketchy thrift store find that we covered with a cheap Target blanket to hide the stains. But we were happy. God, we were so happy. I landed a stable, entry-level job at a local tech firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave us health insurance. Chloe, on the other hand, wanted to conquer the world. She wanted to be a creator, a brand guru, an influencer. She started a lifestyle and fashion blog, which later transitioned into a YouTube channel and TikTok account. For the first 4 years, her content made almost zero money. She'd spend 10 hours editing a video that would get 80 views. Anyone else would have quit, but Chloe had this burning drive. And I believed in her. Because her channel wasn't making money, my salary covered everything. Rent, groceries, her expensive ring lights, her camera gear, the clothes she needed for her lookbooks. I paid for all of it. I worked 50 hours a week, took on freelance coding gigs on the weekends, and skipped buying new clothes for myself for 2 years straight, just so she could have the budget for her content. I remember one night, we were sharing a single container of leftover Thai food because our bank account was down to $12. Chloe started crying. She looked at me and said, "Mark, I'm so sorry, I'm dragging us down. I should just get a regular corporate job." I took her hand and smiled. "Hey, look at me. You have a gift. You're going to make it, Chloe. I'll hold down the fort as long as it takes. We're a team." She kissed me and promised she would never forget what I did for her. She lied. The shift happened incrementally, then all at once. In late 2024, Chloe posted a short, raw video talking about the struggles of building a brand from scratch, mixed with some genuinely funny, relatable comedy about marriage and budgeting. For some reason, the algorithm gods smiled on her. The video got 100,000 views in a day, then 1 million, then 3 million. Suddenly, her follower count exploded. Brands started reaching out. $500 sponsorships turned into $5,000 sponsorships. By mid-2025, Chloe was making more in a single month than I made in an entire year. At first, it was incredible. We paid off our student loans. We moved out of the noisy studio and rented a luxury high-rise apartment overlooking the city. We ate at restaurants where they didn't put the prices on the menu. I was incredibly proud of her. I felt like our hard work, our sacrifice, had finally paid off. But then the atmosphere in our home began to warp. Chloe's personality didn't change overnight. It chipped away bit by bit. It started with the way she looked at our apartment. Suddenly, a luxury high-rise in Chicago wasn't good enough. She needed to be in Los Angeles or Miami. She needed to network with the right crowd. Then her vocabulary changed. She stopped using the word we. It became my apartment, my success, my fans, and my brand. I became the ghost in the background of her glamorous new life. When she filmed vlogs around the apartment, she'd ask me to sit in the bedroom so I wouldn't mess up the aesthetic or get in the frame. I was a 30-year-old man being banished to my own bedroom like a naughty child so my wife could film herself unboxing a $10,000 designer handbag. The real warning sign, though, was how she started talking to me. One evening, I came home exhausted after a brutal day at work. The company I worked for was downsizing, and I had spent the afternoon trying to save my team's juice. I sat on the couch and sighed. Chloe looked up from her phone, her eyes cold. "Can you not do that? You're bringing negative energy into the space. I'm trying to approve a contract with a major cosmetics line." "Sorry," I said, taken aback. "It's just been a really stressful day at the office." Chloe rolled her eyes and let out a scoff that cut me to the quick. "Honestly, Mark, I don't get why you still go to that stupid little job. You make pennies compared to what I bring in a weekend. It's embarrassing that you're still grinding away for some corporate overlord when you could be useful to me." "Useful to you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Chloe, I supported us for 4 years so you could build this brand. I paid for the very camera you're using." "Oh my God," she groaned, throwing her hands in the air. "Are you seriously going to bring that up again? You threw a few bucks at my dream years ago and now you think you own my success? Grow up, Mark. The world moved on. I outgrew that broke lifestyle, and honestly, sometimes it feels like I outgrew you too." She walked out of the room, leaving me sitting in the dark, suffocating on my own disbelief. By early 2026, Chloe had completely transformed into someone I didn't recognize. She surrounded herself with an entourage of fake, superficial clout chasers. Her circle consisted of managers, publicists, and other influencers who spent all day validating her ego. She started treating service workers like garbage. If a barista got her oat milk latte order wrong, she wouldn't just ask for a remake. She would record them on her phone, threaten to ruin their business, and mock their salary. "Do you know who I am?" became her favorite phrase. It made my stomach churn. We stopped sleeping in the same bed. She claimed my snoring was ruining her beauty sleep, which she needed for her shoots. The truth was, she just couldn't stand looking at me because I represented the version of her that used to be ordinary. The climax of her arrogance happened during a high-profile influencer gala in downtown Chicago. She reluctantly invited me because the organizers asked for a +1. I bought a nice, standard tuxedo. I thought maybe, just maybe, if we got dressed up and went out together, we could find a spark of the old us. When we arrived, the red carpet was blinding, flashbulbs popping everywhere. Chloe was in her element, posing and smiling her practiced fake smile. I stepped back to let her have her moment. Later inside, we were standing VIP lounge, mingling with a group of wealthy tech investors and prominent content creators. A well-known talent agent turned to Chloe and then looked at me. "And who is this handsome gentleman?" the agent asked politely. Before I could open my mouth to introduce myself, Chloe chuckled nervously and waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, that's just Mark. He's my assistant. He handles some of the administrative stuff and IT support for my channel. He mostly stays behind the scenes." The group laughed, assuming it was an inside joke. But Chloe wasn't laughing. She looked at me with a cold, warning stare that said, "Don't you dare contradict me." I felt the blood rush to my face. The humiliation was hot and suffocating. I didn't say a word. I turned around, walked out of the gala, caught an Uber back to our apartment, and sat on the kitchen floor. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. She wasn't asking where I went. She wasn't apologizing. The text read, "You embarrassed me by walking out. You need to accept reality, Mark. I'm the star now, I'm smarter, I'm richer, and honestly, I'm better than you. If you can't handle being in my shadow, let me know so I can find an assistant who can." I stared at the blue bubble on my screen. Something inside me, the final thread of love and patience I had been holding on to for years, snapped. "Okay," I whispered to the empty room. "You think you're better than me? Let's see how well you fly without a pilot." I didn't pack my bags and throw a tantrum. I didn't yell at her when she came home at 3 a.m. smelling like expensive champagne and expensive perfume. I played the part of the beaten dog. I acted quiet, compliant, and submissive. But I am a software engineer, and more importantly, because I had held down the fort during the early days, I was the one who had set up her entire digital infrastructure. Chloe was brilliant at marketing and being on camera, but she was completely technologically illiterate. She didn't know how servers worked, she didn't understand data management, and she certainly didn't understand the legal and technical backbone of her business. When her channel first started making money, she asked me to register her LLC. I did. But because she didn't want to deal with paperwork, I was listed as the co-owner and managing director of the LLC. Furthermore, her entire media empire, 6 years of video archives, raw footage, high-paying brand contracts, sponsor contacts, and her proprietary editing templates, was hosted on a massive, private cloud server cluster that I built, paid for, and maintained. Over the next 2 weeks, while Chloe was busy attending parties and filming content mocking regular working-class people, I quietly went to work. First, I met with a top-tier divorce attorney. I laid out all the financial documents. Because we had no prenuptial agreement, we were broke when we married, and because her business was built entirely during our marriage using my primary income as the initial seed capital, my lawyer practically drooled. "Mr. Harrison," the lawyer said, tapping the papers, "under state law, you are entitled to exactly 50% of the LLC's assets, 50% of the liquid capital, and potentially ongoing spousal support based on her current earnings. But more importantly, since you are a co-owner of the LLC, she cannot legally lock you out of the accounts without a court order." "I don't want her future money," I told the lawyer calmly. "I want what's fair from what we built together, and I want to take back my intellectual property." Next, I did a technical audit. The cloud servers that held her entire life's work were in my name. The accounts for her website domain, her high-level sponsor communication portals, and her digital distribution rights were linked to my master developer emails. I didn't delete anything. Deleting her data would be illegal and malicious destruction of property. Instead, I just changed the locks. I migrated all the master data to a secure, encrypted server partition that only I could access. I unlinked my personal credit card from her hosting fees, leaving the accounts to require immediate manual payment from an authorized card, which she didn't have access to because she never bothered to learn the passwords. The day I served her, the divorce papers was carefully calculated. It was the morning of her biggest career milestone, a live-streamed launch of her own custom clothing line, a project she had invested over $200,000 of her own money into. I packed all my belongings into a moving truck while she was at her studio preparing for the live stream. I left the divorce papers right on the kitchen island next to a printed copy of her text message, "I'm better than you." At 12 p.m., her live stream was set to go live. Thousands of fans were waiting. The website was supposed to launch simultaneously to take orders. At 11:55 a.m., the automatic payment script I had disabled kicked in. Because the hosting fees for her high-traffic website were no longer being paid by my card, And because she had ignored the automated warning sent to the master email, which she never checked, her website hosting was suspended for non-payment. Her website went completely dark. A giant error screen appeared. 404, server not found. At the same time, her production team tried to access the cloud servers to grab the promotional videos, graphics, and overlays needed for the live broadcast. They were met with a firewall login screen. Their access tokens had expired, and the new master keys were safely stored in my encrypted drive. My phone started ringing. It was Chloe. I declined the call. She texted me, "Mark, what the hell did you do? The website is down. The media servers are locked. The team can't get the launch graphics. Fix this right now. You're ruining my life." I replied with a single text. "I'm sorry, I thought I was just a useless assistant who brought negative energy into your space. As a mere behind-the-scenes IT guy, I have decided to resign effective immediately. Please contact my lawyer for any future technical support." The live stream launch was an absolute disaster. Without the graphics, the website, or the pre-recorded promotional videos, Chloe had to go live from her phone, visibly sweating, panicking, and stumbling over her words. Her fans were confused. The website couldn't take orders, causing her to lose an estimated $50,000 in opening hour sales alone. But the real nightmare for her was just beginning. When Chloe finally read the divorce papers, she went completely ballistic. She hired an expensive, aggressive lawyer who tried to threaten me with digital sabotage and theft of company assets. My lawyer just laughed. We walked into the first deposition meeting with an absolute mountain of evidence. We proved that every single piece of server hardware, every software license, and the entire LLC registration was paid for and established by me using my salary while she was making $0. We proved that I hadn't deleted a single file. I had simply removed my personal financial backing and separated my proprietary server architecture from her brand. If she wanted her data back, she had to pay the market rate for the server migration. More importantly, her manager and her brand sponsors found out about the messy legal battle. In the influencer world, controversy is toxic, but unprofessionalism is fatal. The fact that she couldn't keep her own website online or manage her internal operations made her look incredibly high risk to major corporations. 3 of her biggest sponsors quietly dropped her within a month. Sitting across from her in the final settlement room, the transformation was staggering. The arrogant, untouchable queen of social media looked exhausted, defeated, and bitter. The fake entourage of yes men had evaporated the moment her numbers started dipping, and the legal trouble began. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered to her. Chloe swallowed her pride, looked at me, and spoke in a voice that was barely a whisper. "Mark, please, just give me back the server access and the domain rights. I'll give you whatever you want from the bank accounts. Just don't ruin what I worked so hard for." I looked at her, and for a second I felt a twinge of pity. I remembered the girl in the 500-square-foot apartment who cried over a bowl of Thai food, but then I remembered the monster she became when she got a taste of power. I remembered her telling me I was nothing. "I'm not ruining your life, Chloe," I said softly. "You ruined our life the moment you decided that money made you a better human being than the man who loved you when you were broke." We finalized the divorce a few months later. I received a substantial, fair settlement from the liquid assets of the LLC, money that I immediately used to buy a beautiful, quiet home in the suburbs and to start my own independent software consulting firm. I'm doing incredibly well, my business is thriving, and I sleep peacefully at night. Chloe kept her channel, but the magic was gone. The legal battle, the failed clothing launch, and the loss of her core technical infrastructure set her back significantly. She had to hire an actual expensive IT agency to rebuild her platforms from scratch, which drained a massive portion of her savings. Her content shifted too. She couldn't pull off the relatable, humble girl act anymore because the internet now knew how she treated people behind the scenes. Her views dropped, her engagement plummeted, and she was forced to move out of the luxury high-rise and downsize her lifestyle. Every now and then, her videos pop up on my feed. She looks beautiful, she still smiles for the camera, but her eyes look completely empty. She chased money and fame, and she got it. But it cost her the only person who actually loved her for who she was, not for her follower count. She wanted to be the star. Now she's shining all by herself in a very dark, very quiet room.